Installing a Badlands 2,500 pound winch on a 2008 Honda TRX 420 FE ATV. I've got all the equipment here to do it, I think, all the parts. I've got the KFI mounting plate, winch mounting plate. Got a new driver fair lead. I had to get a driver one because the bolt holes here have to be on a 4 7/8 inch center to center to fit on the mounting plate. The one that comes with the winch, which is this one, comes with the Badlands, and it's only on 4 1/4 inch spacing, so it will not work with this plate. It works fine with the Harbor Freight mounting plate, which is this one, which does not fit, will not work in this for this ATV in this application. The controls are handlebar mount. Got the rocker switch here, the control box there with the switching mechanism inside of it, the relay. These are the leads that go to the four-wheel, to the winch. I think I'm going to have to extend them. They're not but about 16 inches long. I don't think that's going to be long enough. I'm going to mount that as high as I can to try to keep it from getting wet. So we'll just have to see how that goes. That won't be hard. And those are the leads that go back to the battery. Here's the winch. It's 2,500 pounds, like I said, Badland. We will be installing it up on the four-wheeler. First thing you have to do, let me back up so you can see, is remove, to test fit. I've already test fit this stuff, so I know it'll fit. I haven't attached anything. You can't get the winch plate in there unless you take this plastic grill off right here, the top one. So it's only 4 fasteners. It has some little push pins in the sides right here, each side of that. You just pull that out with a screwdriver, release this piece here. It comes out. I've already kind of pre-done it, and then this pulls right out, and you have it in 2 pieces there. And pull that out, and there are 2 bolts down here which you'll be able to find real easily right up under the front end. They're easy to find, and then the front grill comes off. And this is what the four-wheeler looks like with the front grill off. So you're looking straight at the bumper. I've read reviews on this KFI mounting plate, and people said that the thing wouldn't fit in their four-wheeler. And I think the confusion is that most people think that this thing is supposed to mount more horizontally than it does vertically, which I initially thought when I started trying to put this thing in here. You don't have to take the bumper off to put this 2,500 pound winch in here. Bigger winches, you might have to loosen the bumper here and here or something and drop the bumper a little bit to be able to get clearance behind it. But in this case, we won't have to. The mounting plate goes in here. You can get it in here just by coming in from the side, sliding it in there. And this is, I think, the confusion that everybody has. If you look on the sides here, this is where your bumper mount, the bolts that hold the bottom, 2 bottom bolts hold that plastic bumper on. And I think that's how people think that the plate is supposed to go in there. But obviously it doesn't fit. It bangs into everything. But what you have to do is you pull it up like that. It sits in the front of the ATV like this. And you can see these little wings right here. See, they rest right on those, and it fits perfectly, and goes right up behind those like that. It's confusing, a little confusing, but once you look at it, I think you'll figure it out. The mounting plate looks like installed in the four-wheeler. It's just sitting there, nothing bolted, but that's what it should look like when it's installed the right way, what I think to be the right way. These 2 bolts are different size. There's a larger one, a smaller one. The larger one, there's a whole set of holes here, right here, and right here, and that's where those bolts, there's 2 U-bolts go there on that. There's now the smaller ones right here by these little mounting brackets for the top bumper, for the top plastic cover. There's 2 little holes in the mounting plate that it goes through right there, and they're set right there, and that takes care of your 4 U-bolts that came with the mounting plate bracket. Now, to install the winch, and the literature of the winch says that you want the winch to spool off the top. Like right now it's spooled off the bottom. Makes sense because they don't want it dragging on the fair lead is what I see. So I'll see how it goes when we get here. I've seen people say instead of installing it this way, where it would be mounted and coming off the bottom of the spool, it would come off the top. they flip it over like this so that now it would come off the top. I don't want to put it in this way. I want the motor to be hanging out past, because on this particular rancher, if you look down here, to service the front differential, the drain plug and the fill plug is right here, and if the motor is sticking out here in this space, it'll be in the way for servicing that later on. So I want the motor to be hanging off this side where there's nothing to service except the transaxle there. I mean, there's stuff to service, but you change the fluids hopefully more than you change the transaxles. To install this winch, I'm going to go ahead and set it in there before I bolt it in, just to make sure everything fits. It will slide in. You just come through here behind the plate like this, and you have to turn it just a little, ever so slightly. Find the way where it comes through and into that space in there, and it will mount just like this. That the hole's lined up with the hole in the mounting plate. This is what it'll look like when it's installed, and you can see why the cable needs to come off the top, perhaps. Instead of doing that, I'm going to spool the cable off of it, and then I'll spool it on backwards and reverse 2 wires on the winch, and that way the buttons will still be accurate as to whether you're spooling in or out with the cable, instead of flipping the motor over. And we will continue with this once I get all this installed. Okay, I've got the winch mounted, the bracket mounted, everything's in. As we talked about earlier, I know people say that your winch has to spool off the top. I can see that's going to be definitely the case with this, because there it is coming. This is from the front of the four-wheeler. You can see that it's too low, so it's going to have to come off the top of the spool right there in a minute. But you can see all the bolts, U-bolts are on. I've got the winch. These are the bolts holding the winch on. Everything's done. The wires are routed. Routing is kind of a personal preference thing, so that's going to be individual taste. But the way I wound up routing is I came up the right side of the machine, attached it to that cross support right there, went up around there and tied up there, put a piece of fuel hose on it right there to go through where that corner of that bracket is, to try to keep it up high, and it goes back towards the back. Mine has a relay on it. We'll come around and see where I wound up mounting the relay, because the wires were too short on the Harbor Freight relay, so I extended the winch wires, and right there on the side of the fuel tank is where that wound up coming. But I came above all this, you can see all down there, came up right up under the fuel tank into here, put the extra wire, tied it up right there, and that's where I put the relay. That's a big old void up in there. I've got it tie wrapped to some metal corner braces that hold the fuel tank down, and then ran the wires on back kind of under the edge of the seat, along with a big yoke factory harness that's there, and back went underneath that, and it came into the battery on both sides. The thing works, and we have a working winch now. Everything seems to be good with that. Now I'm getting into fitting and cleaning up the front end of the four-wheeler for the bumper to go back on. I'm going to re-spool it after I get all this fitted. I just like to get everything fitted before I do the final stuff. It's just the way my mind works. But I haven't put the fair lead on. It would be in the way right now. There's going to have to be some trimming on the bumper for that, but I've already kind of started on fitting it. If you put the bumper on like this, just kind of fake put it on to where it's supposed to go. First, I'm going to pick this back in here to get it out of the way. Stuck it up on top of the winch, and what it does is it hits on the bracket on the mounting plate right here, and it hits on the winch. I've already started carving out a little bit. You can see where I marked it with a pencil a little bit, and I did the same thing right here where it's touching, and right over here where it's touching. I'll show you installed. There's where the bumper goes. See, it hits this bolt here, but you're able to push that down and get it on there to get it to go over it. You can see right here, what I'll do is I take the pencil and just kind of mark the area so that I know about where I need to take some out, like that, and do the same thing on this side. Mark that where it goes down to there, kind of goes right to the bottom there. That's really the only place, and over here on the winch side as well, just kind of round it out, and I just kind of mark where it's touching and go above. pull it off. I like to use a Dremel tool with just a regular sandpaper wheel on it. It grinds good, and it's really no effort at all. You can see where I've been grinding on it right there and right there before, because I did a little bit of minor fitting. I've got to plug the thing in first. That would be helpful. And we'll be ready to show you how to grind a little. You just got to slowly just take slow little pieces and work it in to where you don't have a big huge gap, and don't take any more than what you have to off of it. All right, which way's the top? Here's the top. And we're taking it off of right here. So this is a bracket, and you just spool it up. And it just peels it right out of there. And you can feather the edges in so it's nice and pretty, and you don't take as much out. Anyway, just keep doing that, and we'll come back in a minute when we get everything fit. All right, back with the four-wheeler, all finished except for putting the trim pieces of plastic back on it. I took and pulled this out, re-spooled it. You can look in there, see it spools off the top now, straight in front of the four-wheeler, so it lines up with the fair lead good. The fair lead's installed. Had to install it with the nuts on the top side because this little bit of distance right here was too much. It was pushing down too much on the fender, on one of the little guards in the fender, in the plastic fender. So it had to go up where there was more clearance. That way, the bolt heads make it fit. It fits better. Seams upside down, but that's the way it goes unless you want to carve a ton more plastic out of the bumper, the plastic bumper, which I did not. It works good. Go ahead and hit it and show it work. Come out with it a little bit. Okay, in. And that's the four-wheeler with the install. And see, I still, as I said before, I still have room to access my service point on my front differential, where if not, the motor would have been right here. And it's just, I've worked on that before, and I know that you need the swing room for the wrench to be able to get that nut off. It makes it easier. This side sticks out. You can see how much further past it sticks. My bumper, here's what I had to do to my front plastic bumper. I had to cut this part out, and I had to cut from right here. Had to do a little bit all the way across the front. I went ahead and did this little notch in the bottom for the bolt that mounts the winch on, because it was hitting it too bad, pushing down. And I did all the way over this direction to right here. So it's not, and it didn't take, you don't take but about 1/4 inch off all this, more or less. You just kind of do a little bit and fit it as you go. From the front, that's what it looks like from the front. And this left side there, or the right side of the four-wheeler. When I came to the top, so I just, to make it spool the other way, this red with the hot wire, the positive wire, should be on the bottom, so I just reversed them. So now in is in and out is out, since I've got it coming off the top of the motor. I just pulled all the wire off the thing, off the spool, and then hit the end button and wound it all back up to where it came on the top, and that's all it takes to reverse it rather than flipping the motor. Otherwise, you just got to turn the motor completely over and flip it where it comes off the top. If your four-wheeler allows you to do that, that works. But like I said, I was worried about service in the front end, the differential right there. If the motor was in that area, it would be in the way. So that's why I did mine this way.